Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing an album review which I've been very excited about doing pretty much since this album was announced. I'm going to be taking a look at Paul McCartney's latest release, Egypt Station. So I'll just be doing the usual thing in this video, giving a bit of background information about the album, then showing you a vinyl copy and CD versions of the record, and then looking at each of the album's tracks in detail. So this is the long-awaited 17th solo album by Paul McCartney, released on the 7th of September in 2018. His last album was 2013's New, meaning that this has been the longest wait between McCartney albums ever. However, in the meantime, he hasn't done a lot to really excite his fan base. He collaborated with Kanye West and Rihanna, scoring his biggest hit in decades with them, with the song 4-5 Seconds. Other than that though, all we got was two non-album soundtrack songs, Hope for the Future and In the Blink of an Eye, both of which I think are pretty decent songs. However, a lot of McCartney fans weren't too impressed with those songs, feeling that his vocals were especially poor on them. So Egypt Station was recorded I think pretty much starting about 2016. I think work started on it with producer Greg Crustine, who McCartney had been introduced to when they were working together on the still unreleased High in the Clouds film soundtrack, the sort of I believe it's an animated film which McCartney's doing the music to, which has been in the pipeline for many years now. So this Greg Crustine is a very prolific record producer. He's worked with everyone from Adele to Liam Gallagher to the Foo Fighters. And McCartney said that with this record he was going for a more sort of concept albums approach, kind of something which you would want to listen to from start to finish, rather than just a bunch of singles. So along comes this album here with a very effective sort of teaser campaign on his social media sites. First we had this sort of very mysterious hand-drawn sort of radio symbol out there, everyone wondering what was going on with his accounts and that. Then the in-studio photographs, many people speculating that it would be McCartney 3, what we would be getting. However, it was announced that the album would be called Egypt Station, with two singles, those being Come On To Me and I Don't Know. Now I must say when I first heard those songs back in, I think it was in the end of June they came out, I didn't instantly love them. However, I have really grown to like them over the last 3 months we've had them. So the record has been promoted pretty well, with a hugely successful carpool karaoke appearance. Critically, it got his best reviews since Chaos and Creation in the Backyard, which certainly heightened anticipation for the album. Now chart wise, it's still a bit early when I'm filming this, it's not got any chart placements yet, but I believe it's on course to reach number 2 in the UK in the midweek chart update. It would be really nice if Paul could score another #1 album in his lifetime, because I think this is really worthy of really worthy off the top spot. So I will just now show you the vinyl copy of it here. Well, actually I think I'll show the CD first. So this is the HMV exclusive CD, because it's got the green ribbon on it rather than the red one, and this is 2 bonus tracks, both of which I think are absolutely fantastic. One of them's called Get Started, which is a kind of sort of classic sort of 70s sounding track. Kind of sounds something Wings would do, but also here a bit sort of a Fleetwood Mac kind of feel on that one. And the other one is Nothing for Free, which is a more sort of modern sort of pop sound, but I think works really well. Certainly certainly a lot better than the single what we got For You. I certainly think that Nothing for Free should have been one of the singles for the album, and not just resigned to a bonus track. But this is a lovely packaging. On one side we've got all the lyrics to the tracks, on the other we've just got this sort of art collage here, which just looks really cool. The CD is just located in the back here, and it looks like this here. So that is the CD looked at. The vinyl, this is the deluxe vinyl packaging, whoever just whoever not the coloured one. And this again, a bit like the CD, just opens up brilliantly. It's sort of you've got a sort of double sort of gatefold kind of thing going on here. So it all sort of opens up like this, and then on the other side looks like that there. So just really fantastic packaging. Like as I said, like in like my unboxing video of this is definitely like his best like album artwork like I think he's done. And so the records, I'll just show one of them because I have done like the unboxing. Just looks like that there, and this is just the standard one like on black vinyl. Plus with this you also get a really lovely insert, which is again like another sort of like 3-panel one, just with all like the lyrics like to like the tracks and like more sort of like illustrations. So yeah, the vinyl packaging, like they really went like all out with this, and like I think it is fantastic. So yeah, I will now go over each of the album songs. I will score each track out of 10, and then those scores will be used to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. So the first like proper song up is called I Don't Know. Like whether like the album like actually opens like with like a 40-second like instrumental thing called Opening Station, which I'm not going to score like this song here. Like there's no point really, like because it's kind of just because it kind of just like sort of like ambient sounds like on it, like off like a train station, like really just sort of like sets like the scene like for like the album. Like doesn't really like isn't like a song like by like any means. Like whether the first proper track is called I Don't Know, which is a lovely sort of like plaintive ballad. Like I must say, like it is a slightly strange choice though to open the album, because most like McCartney albums open up like with something quite like upbeat, like quite sort of like poppy, like very much like a sort of like a sort of like very much a sort of like rocking track, like to get you like into like the album. Like I'm thinking of stuff like say Save Us, like from New, and like Fine Line from Chaos and Creation, Dance Tonight, like just to list like some recent like examples. Like whether like this is like a very sort of like different like style like opening track here, like a ballad like full of like self-doubt like and like worrying, like with like sort of like very sort of like vivid like imagery like in like the lyrics, like the lines such as crows at my windows and dogs at my door. I really like Christine's production like on this song here, like especially like the drum sounds like and like the sort of like the backing vocals, which at first like sound like a female singer, like that being quite significant, like being like the first time like McCartney's like sang with like a lady like since like Linda's passing. Like whether like I believe like it's actually just like Paul sort of like very speeded like his like vocals like sort of like right sort of like sped up like to give it like this sort of strange effect. But I think what really works, so I Don't Know, I think is a wonderful track. We'll give it a 10 out of 10. If you come on to me, will I come on to you? So the next song up is Come On To Me, which is really like the lead single like from like the record. Like this was getting like a lot of like radio like airplay like in like the UK, and I think it is a really like rocking track. Like it's got a great sort of playful like production on it. McCartney like says like the track lyrically like it's him sort of like thinking back like to like the 60s, like sort of like pick up like sort of like flirting like style song. Like it's got a kind of like I said sort of like very sort of playful, sort of reminds me like a lot like of like the song Flaming Pie in like the production like of it. And like although the song it is very repetitive lyrically, musically there are different layers like added like as like the song like goes on, which I think like works like really well. Like I said, like as a single like it didn't like chart like on like the major like sort of like national charts like whether like it did get like a lot of like radio like airplay like in like the UK, and like in like America like it done like okay, reached number 6 like on the adult alternative charts. So yeah, I think a really solid track there, maybe a little bit repetitive and maybe a little bit too long like as well like at 4 minutes 11 seconds, but rocking track, like one which is like really like a lot of fun. 'Cause I'm happy with you. And the next track is very different. It's called Happy With You, which is a very sort of simple like acoustic track, like when McCartney confesses like to getting drunk like and stoned like in like the past, like whether now like he says that he doesn't because he's happy like in like his current situation. And I think this is a song very much like about like his wife Nancy. It's got really nice production on it. Reminds me like of like something what would be like on like the McCartney album, like or like even like the White Album, like sort of thing. Like it's got a very like sort of like nice like very nice flutes on it, like nice sort of like percussive vocal passage, like which I said like reminds me quite a lot of like the song That Will Be Something like from McCartney. I just think it's a really timeless track. Like it's sort of like it's just like this classic like McCartney like acoustic piece, like and like sort of like as like I think Ben Simpson pointed out again like his review, like it's a very nice like sort of counterpiece like to like Come On To Me, like which is very sort of slightly cheeky, sort of like very like youthful song. This one like is kind of like a more sort of like middle-aged like track, like sort of like a sort of older guy like content like with like his life, which I think works really well. So Happy With You would get a 10 out of 10 from me. And the next track, which opens up the second side of the album, is called Who Cares, which is a great rocking track. It begins with this sort of very unique, like sort of like guitar feedback, like introduction, which I think sounds really great. It's just a really swaggering, like rocking track, like with like a very sort of tough, like sort of like acoustic guitar, like as well, like as I saw like Hammond organ stabs like throughout it. But the actual style like of the song like really reminds me like a lot of like sort of T-Rex, like sort of like glam rock like style. Like an opinion that sort of like echoed like in like Ben Simpson's like review like off like the album. And lyrically like it's a very sort of like it's kind of like a reassuring song like to people like you like maybe getting like bullied, and like the fact that like it's sort of like it doesn't matter like what like those people say. I just think his vocal is great on this. There's really nothing like not to like about this track. Like if anything I could just wish that it went on like for like a little bit longer personally.
I just wanna know how you feel.
And then the next one is probably the most sort of controversial song like on the album. It's the song For You, which was the third single, and like I said, like caused quite a lot of controversy like among fans, like with like a sort of double meaning chorus, as well as like the general sort of like mainstream pop sound like off like the track. It's the only song like on the album to be produced by a guy called Ryan Tedder. Like he was like a more sort of like mainstream like pop producer. Like he like wrote with like Beyonce as well, and like loads of like different like very mainstream like artists. And like that sort of influence really shows like on this track. It sounds very much like it sounds very much like sort of like the cunt stuff like you hear like in like the charts. However, it does have McCartney's twist on it like as well. Like sort of like especially like in like the middle eighth, like where like you've got these sort of I Am the Walrus like style strings like. And like so like the harpsichord like in it like as well, like it is very much just sort of like McCartney like sort of like adapting like himself like to like sort of like the modern pop sound. I mean like a lot of people were really like overreacting like with this song. Like it's far from like the worst song the worst song like he's ever done. Like, but certainly, like, it's not like a high point, like, on, like, the album, like, either. However, despite it being, like, the odd song out, like, in terms of, like, producer, like, audio, to me, it doesn't actually sound, like, out of place, like, on, like, this record. I think it actually does fit in pretty well, like, sort of, like, sonically, like, to the album. But overall, not one of, like, my massive favourite tracks of mine, like, on the album. I would personally give it a 7 out of 10.
Used to be my confidant. And
the next one is very much another change of direction. It's a song called Confidant, which is another sort of stripped back, like it's very simple, like acoustic track, like where like McCartney said like lyrically this song like is sort of like he's singing like to like a guitar, like which he like left like sort of like abandoned like under like a staircase, like he's sort of like saying. Like he's sort of like saying like we used to be sort of like close but like now we're not, like sort of thing, like, and like it's a very much like it's something like as like sort of like as a sort of like guitar player like myself, like you can feel like a sort of like attachment like sort of like to like instrument. Like a lot of people like were sort of saying lyrically like this song like was very odd, like very abstract, like, but for me like I can certainly see that where like he's coming from like lyrically like with this song. It's got a very nice sort of like understated like melody like to it. Like it isn't like one which instantly jumps out at you, but I think it is like quite like a memorable track, and like I think like overall it is a really nice song. Like it certainly like does like grow on you, so I would give it an 8 out of 10 for Confidant.
people want peace.
And the next one is called People Want Peace, which is a fine little pop track here. Like I think it's Christine's production what really makes this track here. But I mean lyrically, like it is a kind of subject that which McCartney like has like certainly touched on like over like the years. Like it really reminds me like a lot of stuff like Peace in the Neighborhood and like Come On People like from like the Off the Ground album. Like however like it is like sort of like a fresh look like out like a kind of peace song. Like not only like meaning like sort of like world peace, but like also meaning that sort of like inner peace like within like yourself. I think the song builds that pretty well. It's starting like with like a sort of like a harpsichord, like sort of backing like on like the first verse, like then like the drums come in, which give the song like a bit of like weight, like as does like a really great like middle eighth. Reminds me like a lot of like his sort of like 80s work, like something like say like Only Love Remains, like from like Press to Play. Like that's not like a put down like to this song like by any means. I mean like I think like the middle eighth of this song like it's probably like the best part like about it, and like it ends like with this sort of chanting like sort of style like to it. I mean it is just like a classic McCartney song, like really like not a highlight like on the album for me, but certainly like far like from like a weak track. I would give it an 8 out of 10.
Hand in hand, walking through life and making...
And then to close the second side, we get the song Hand in Hand, which is a really lovely piano ballad, which some people like have observed like is like quite a suitable song like for like weddings. Like it's sort of like got like that sort of like that feeling like to it, like we're sort of like we're just about to sort of like go through like life together, like that kind of thing. Just a really nice sort of like romantic feeling to it. A great like melody, like again like all like the chorus, like the hand in hand walking through life and making up plans part. McCartney sings this track like at the top, like off like his vocal register, very sort of like kisses on the bottom, like style vocal performance like on it. And I must say, like the really basic like production like on this track really works. Like it's very simply done. Like you've got a the only like other thing like on like the track, like apart from McCartney's voice like and like his piano, like is like this pan flute solo. Very sort of like odd like arrangement choice, but just really works well. And like I said, like I'm quite glad it is like contained like as like a song. It's only like 2 minutes 35 seconds, like so like it is like very much like doesn't like outstay its welcome.
And like the Dominos are falling into place.
Now we're halfway through the record and we get a song called Dominos, which is a great song. I think it has a really sort of like natural like acoustic sound. Like once again, lyrically, like it's about like how like a sort of like a small event like in like a person's life can like going to have like sort of like a huge effect like on them. Like sort of like the act of like dropping like a dominoes like in like a line is sort of like they also like fall over, like that kind of like imagery like on it. Like production wise, this actually reminds me a lot like of like a Jeff Lynne production like sort of like sound, especially like with like the backing vocals and like the general like upbeat like pop style like off the song. The ending off the track is quite interesting like as well. It features this sort of backwards guitar solo, which personally for me I think actually drags the song down like a little bit. Like it's a good 5 minutes this track, and like I must say like about like at like the midpoint like of the song, it does get like a little bit like sort of like dragging on like a tad. Like I say, like it could do like with like a bridge like this track to sort of like break it up. Like however, I think the actual like sort of like the idea like what he's got like sort of what he's got like lyrically like and also for like sort of like the chorus like and like the verses I think are really great. It is just sort of classic like vintage McCartney, this song.
Back in Brazil, she meets a man.
Now the next one is called Back in Brazil, which at first I thought was one of like the lesser tracks like on the album. Like however, it has really grown on me. Sonically, it's very playful. Reminds me a lot like of like the Cure's song Close to Me, like just in like sort of like the rhythm like of a song, like but also like also sort of like the playful like synthesizer like bits, like also like sort of like a sort of like McCartney 2 like sort of style song like in spirit. Lyrically though, it is a little bit throwaway, just about like a guy like and like a girl like you meet like in like Brazil. Like however, like the arrangement, like as I said, it works really well. The only thing like I don't care for like in like the track like is like the itchy bass sort of like chant bit. Like I think like that's like it seems a little bit like out of place. It is just like a very wacky song, but like that bit, like the itchy bass shouts, they do get a little bit like annoying like for me. I did say though like when like I first typed up these notes, maybe this song like should have been like a bonus track. Like whether personally like now like I don't think so, because it does give the album like a bit more character. So yeah, Back in Brazil, we're getting 8 out of 10.
Do it now while the feeling.
And the next number is called Do It Now, which is a sort of slower ballad. Like this song is a sort of Brian Wilson like style track. Like I think it begins very sort of quiet, like almost like a sort of like radio like sort of sound, like a sort of like McCartney like coming through like sort of like a quiet speaker. Like however like in like the second verse, like the production becomes like a lot more clearer. Lyrically, the song was inspired like very more like of his dad's sayings, like do it now, like sort of like make the most like of like every moment and like don't hold back on something like if like you feel like that is right. So like a similar kind of message like to the song this one lyrically. I must say the song, it does take a little while like to get going, like whether it has some glorious like harmony vocals on it, like especially considering that like a lot of people a lot of like sort of like non-fans like think McCartney's like lost his voice. Like whether I think that it is like quite remarkable like that you can like still like put out like a really beautiful sounding song like this. Personally for me though, it isn't a massive favourite of mine, but one which might like continue like to grow on me. So Do It Now, we're getting 8 out of 10.
She's a rock. She's a rock.
And then the next song up is called Caesar Rock, which is possibly my least favourite, like, on the album. I will sort of like try and again like explain why. I think it's got a very sort of raw, sort of demo-y sort of feeling to it. Like I certainly like get like the feeling like that it was made up, like sort of like studio like experiment. Like it's sort of got like the words play like off, like he's actually singing like the line Caesar Rock, like whoever like it's sort of like it's titled like Caesar Rock. Like I mean like it's very wacky, like which certainly fits the song. Like it goes like from like a very sort of shouty, quite sort of raw, like almost like sort of like Roger Daltrey-esque, like sort of like verse, like to like a sort of like a Talking Heads like funk guitar break. It's just a really like interesting track, I think, but one which I personally probably like would have like consigned like to like a bonus track. Like I don't know like what it is like about the song. I just think lyrically like it's maybe a little bit juvenile, like a little bit silly, like but like one which might like under like repeat listenings like maybe like will like reveal itself like to me. Like whoever like Caesar Rock, yeah, personally for me, my least favourite one like on the album right now, like certainly tied like with like For You like as like my least favourite.
Despite repeated warnings.
But then we flip over to the final side, like, and we get, for me, the album's, like, absolute, like, centerpiece, which is the song Despite Repeated Warnings, which just sort of is just brilliant. It's, like, sort of, like, lyrically, like, it's very metaphorical. Like, it's a sort of, like, tale, like, off, like, a, sort of, like, a ship, like, where, like, the captain, like, isn't listening, like, to, like, his crew, and, like, a crew, like, ends up, like, crashing, like, the boat. McCartney said that, like, this is, like, a metaphor, like, for people, like, who, like, ignore climate change, like, and, like, sort of, like, dismiss, like, experts, like, and, like, scientists. He's like also like sort of like suggested that like it's kind of like a dig like at like President like sort of like Donald Trump, like kind of like with his like sort of like denial like of like climate change. I love like the changes like the song goes through. Sort of starts off like sort of like a sort of piano ballad, like this orchestra comes in, like then it takes so many sort of like twists and turns like musically. It's just absolutely brilliant. Like it reminds me like a lot like of like the epicness like of like the Abbey Road medley, like or like something like say like the Who would do like in like the 60s, such as like Tommy, like or like a quick one. Definitely for me the best song like on the album, and like probably the best song like which he's done like this century. But that's not it for the album, because the last song is Hunt You Down Naked Sea-Link, which is a sort of like another sort of like 6.5 minute sort of like 3-piece kind of song, like whether like that is actually preceded like by something called Station 2, which is very similar like to Opening Station. Like it's sort of like it's got like this sort of like ambient sounds, and like again like whether like towards the end of that like we get like this sort of fade up like off like the fade up like off like this guitar riff. McCartney said that like this was supposed to give the impression like of like a busker like in like the railway station, like sort of like plugging like in like a guitar like and like starting like the next song like Hunt You Down, which like when we get to that it is brilliant. Hunt You Down is just another sort of swaggering like rocker. It's got a great like powerful like riff on it, like with like sort of like it's maybe slightly cliched like lyrically, like very sort of like bluesy lyrics. But I love the sort of like production quirks of it. But yeah, because you've got sort of like the main lick like off like the song like behind the first verse like played like by like a cello like rather than like a guitar. It just gives it a really sort of like strange touch, and I think could have like stood like on its own 2 feet like as like a song, because Hunt You Down is just wonderful. That then goes into a slightly solo piece called Naked, which I think certainly works like in like the context like off like this medley here. Like I don't think like would have been quite as effective like as a standalone track. It's sort of got like this sort of like R&B like sort of like feeling to it, like again slightly quirky lyrics like about sort of like being like naked since I was born, like i.e. that sort of like having like nothing to hide. McCartney does a very sort of like deep vocal like on vocal like on the section, and like again like he has like sort of like what sound like female like backing vocalists, like whether like I like wouldn't be surprised like if it is like just like McCartney like sort of very speedy, just a very like effective like musical passage there, like this track Naked. And then it goes into the final section, which is called Sea-Link, which is a sort of slower, more sort of slightly meandering sort of like guitar solo like backed like with like an orchestra. Like it's pretty like heavy sort of like bluesy like bluesy sort of territory like for like Paul McCartney, quite sort of like outside like his comfort zone. However, personally, I don't think it really ends the album brilliantly. Like I think it kind of like it sort of like meanders on like a little bit. Like it doesn't really like end the album like with like a bang. Like it's sort of like it just seems to go like on and on and on like this, on and on and on like this sort of like guitar solo piece. But I do like how like the orchestra sort of comes in. Like it's very sort of like soundtrack like sort of film soundtrack like sort of like territory here. Personally though, I would have ended the album with something like a little bit more like climactic personally.
In so many
So overall, this album scores a brilliant 86%. So I think this is a incredible album from Paul McCartney. It certainly continues like the streak of incredible records he's been putting out since 2005's Chaos and Creation in the Backyard. I'll say on this record on the build up to it, some people were kind of wanting Paul to act his age, just do reflective acoustic tracks. I argued that the singles Come On To Me and For You were the complete opposite of that. However, I am quite glad that the doubters, the people who were saying it's going to be a rubbish album just based on 3 singles were ultimately proved wrong, because this is a very eclectic, very diverse work for someone who, I mean, he's 76. Naturally he shouldn't still be putting out and writing incredible music. I think producer Greg Krusty was a real blessing on this record, very much helping to give the album a cohesive feeling with mostly organic organics, rather than the modern pop sounds of new. I think no track on here outstays its welcome, and I must say as well, his vocals are really strong on here for what they are. Nothing really sticks out as a bad or cringeworthy vocal performance. Say something say early days on New sounded very rough. There's nothing like this on here. Apparently with this record though, they tried very hard to get the vocals right, and I think it definitely did pay off. Now right, compared to his other albums, it is maybe a little bit difficult to judge. It's probably overall less consistent than New. However, for me this record does reach greater heights on songs such as Despite Repeated Warnings. However, conversely maybe has more I wouldn't say low points, but more maybe average tracks. However, I would say this is a more ambitious album than his work from the last 10 years, and less rooted in kind of modern production, and trying just score a hit. In some ways, this is a really nice summary of all the different sides of McCartney. You've got ballads, you've got rockers, you've got more experimental silly tracks, also epic, grandiose, masterpieces. It is really just a very, I said, a nice summary of all the different sides of McCartney. And if this so happens to be his final studio album of his career, then I'd say that this is an absolutely great send-off for him. Egypt Station, a wonderful album here, which I would recommend everyone at least give it a listen. Really great stuff here from Paul McCartney. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed this review. I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.